Hey guys, Mrs. Horn here. The chapter is Animal Development today, and we're focusing on the part of the chapter which discusses what happens when the sperm meets the egg, how does it get in, what part of the sperm gets in, and when those two cells fuse, what are the early stages of development of the embryo. So here we go. The picture that I have on the right is a multi-step process, and we're focusing on step number 1 here. So you're going to write this into your blank note page. And the first thing that happens is that the sperm is going to push through the follicle cells and bind to receptors that are on the outside of the egg. So if you look at here's the egg, and then there's a layer on the outside called the zona pellucida. The sperm is going to come in, and there are receptor molecules on the outside of that. The sperm is going to connect with the receptor molecules in that zone. The next thing that happens is that the binding site where that receptor molecule was starts an acrosomal reaction, and what happens there is that the sperm brought some enzymes with it, and it's going to start to break apart this pellucida area so that it's kind of like a jelly layer, and it's going to use those enzymes to break through that. The next step is that the sperm will find the plasma membrane and bind to receptors on the membrane. So multi steps just to get to the plasma membrane. The next step is the membrane of the sperm will actually fuse with the plasma membrane of the egg, and the contents of the sperm enter the egg. So here's the egg nucleus, and then this purple area here, that's the nucleus of the sperm. The cortical reaction occurs when the enzymes are released by the egg. So these little vesicles here, they have the blue dots. Those are vesicles that contain enzymes that, when the contents of the sperm enter the cell, those enzymes are released, and the cortical reaction occurs, which hardens this jelly layer on the outside. And when that hardens, then it blocks any other sperm from entering. Now, after those two cells combine, early stages of embryonic development occur. When the contents of the sperm fuse with the nucleus of the egg, we call that single cell a zygote. It then has the correct number of chromosomes. If we're talking humans, that would be 46 chromosomes. It then undergoes rapid cell division. So the S phase, which we learned, is where they're synthesizing more chromosomes, making more copies of chromosomes, and then lots of mitosis is happening. The cells are not getting any bigger, they are simply just making more copies of them. When it goes from a 1 cell to 2 cells, and that's what this picture is, that's where we call it an embryo. So this is an embryo, and then it splits again as an embryo, and then now it splits multiple times. Anything 2 cells or bigger would be an embryo. We have some scanning electron microscope pictures of what the embryo would look like. The solid ball of cells, which is this last picture here, would be anywhere from 16 to 64 cells. It's called a morula. That solid ball will, in the next couple of days, develop into a hollow ball. So all those cells will kind of move to the outer perimeter of that, and we call that a blastula. The blastula is empty on the inside, and it's filled with fluid, and that cavity is called a blastocele. In a human, the blastula is a structure that is going to implant into the uterus. So up until this blastula point where there's 128 cells, all of the embryonic development is taking place in the fallopian tubes. higher up in the female reproductive system, and not until we get to the blastula stage, where it will float down and implant itself into the uterus. The second phase here is called gastrulation, and gastrulation is when that embryo starts to develop from the blastula into what we call the gastrula. And the gastrula has 3 different germ layers: the ectoderm, the endoderm, and the mesoderm. And I want to explain what each of those germ layers will become. The ectoderm is the outer layer of cells on the embryo. So those cells will become anything that would be, think about, toward either on the outside of your body or toward the outside of your body. So skin, nails, your mouth, rectum, the lens of your eyeball, your nervous system. You have nerves that run very close to the skin, and even the enamel on your teeth are a few examples of what the ectoderm layer becomes. Then we have the endoderm, so think of the innermost layer of the embryonic cells, and those would develop into things in the very inside of your body, like your digestive tract, your respiratory system, including your lungs, your liver, your pancreas, the urethra, which is part of your excretory system, and the bladder. Now the mesoderm, meso is in the middle, the layer of cells that are in the middle of the embryos, in between the ectoderm and the endoderm. These things will become anything that lies between the other 2 layers. So we have your bones, your muscles, your blood vessels, your lymph nodes, and the rest of your excretory system, like your kidneys. And the last thing I want to talk about is from there, so when it's a gastrula and we have the 3 different germ layers and now we know what they become, the next step in development is creating the organs. So those germ layers will then start to develop into organs, and this is happening pretty early in human embryonic development. So we're talking, this is starting anywhere from 3 to 4 weeks. There's very early development of organs. The first organ to develop is what's called the neural tube in the embryo, and that's a combination of what will become the brain and the spinal cord. And by the end of the first trimester, so around month 3, month 4, beginning of month 4, all of the major organs have developed. They're all there. They can't function on their own, and they're really, really small, but they are all present in the fetus, and that's what we call it at that point, but they're all present in the fetus at that time. So that is the early development of an embryo and how the sperm fuses with the egg and how it gets in, and different layers of an embryo. So I hope that helps.